News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Welcome to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning.
I'm Alan Gilbert, darkoakmedia.com.
And I'm Maximilian. And if our buddy from the Shelby County Sheriff's Office is listening, I wanted to wish him a very happy National Marvin Day.
Oh, Marvin. Yeah, we are a good friend of ours from the Sheriff's Office. So that's it. Alan, anybody could pick any day. I bet you there's a National Allan Day. I mean,
I doubt that severely.
Surely. And Joe or, I don't know. So, I mean, okay.
And would you mind if I shared the etymology real quickly of it?
Okay.
Sure.
It's derived from a Welsh name meaning sea hill.
Sea hill?
Yes. Not
So-
like S-E-A hill, not seeing the hill.
Okay.
As in like ocean.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's rather fitting because I was thinking of Marvin the Martian, so he's an explorer. I mean, he's evil. He always tries to disintegrate Bugs
Your
Bunny.
point being what?
Okay. All right. Well, Marvin, I feel like there's a lot of famous Marvins we could probably look at. But, okay, so Marvin Day is on the table. I sure hope there's some Marvins listening today.
That'd be good. We need to hear from you.
If you are listening, we'd love to hear from you. Get in touch with us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. It's a little, okay. How do we get in on this holiday? It's like, do we just,
I guess we'll have to wait for Joe Day.
listen to Marvin Gaye records or something?
Ooh,
I don't know.
I can
But
think of worse things than that.
anyway, okay. Also, you can watch the show on the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's Facebook page and the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's X page. And it's a good day to do it, Alan, because later in the second hour of the show, we got our good buddy Larry Brown from Brown Refrigeration coming in. Boy, it's like pulling teeth getting him to come in.
That's like a Bigfoot sighting these days.
It is. Well, he's
busy. I know he's busy, man.
I guess his priority is taking care of his business and making sure he's keeping everybody cool and comfortable.
I'll have to confess part of that is my fault. I've had him busy this week. So,
Well, it sounds like that. And I thought that would be, because you said for Alan's Week in Review, it's basically refrigeration out the wazoo, right?
Hot and cold. I was shake and bake all week.
Okay, cool. And we have kind of an interesting must-have item of the week. You can check that out if you go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page. I posted a picture. It kind of leads to a bigger discussion. And also, Alan, the Critter Wars is fairly epic this week. There was news that broke here in the Mid-South that was pretty epic to do with a critter. And I'm telling you, me and my wife were battling something at my house, and I'm hoping you can help us with because it's come home to roost, you could say. So we've got a tool tale involving my wife's Mother's Day present. We've got quite a bit. And, of course, like if you've got any HVAC questions or concerns, it's a great day to get in touch with us, like we said, because the second hour of the show, we're going to have Larry Brown in the house. So, but, Max, there was something you wanted to get to before we get to any of that, right?
And now, a deep cut with Maximilian.
Yeah.
I just got to pose the question with a little bit of a deep cut in the Fruit Ninja.
Okay.
But anyways, I kind of had an interesting question related to some research I did. And that has to do with the fact that I learned that in ancient times, the metal copper was long associated with having healing properties by Greeks such as Hippocrates and like the Aztecs. They use that in some level of prescription or whatever for healing. And I was wondering if in modern times and in our own little ways in the use of home improvement, if we could incorporate the natural healing properties of metals into our home items.
Now, Alan, I will tell you this, and I feel like you've just triggered Alan, but I've seen a trend, because, my wife keeps me up on these jewelry and everything.
Right.
There's this new thing. I don't know how new it is, but copper jewelry. People are using it more or less because they say it helps, blood flow, or it helps whatever. It doesn't hurt it.
Right.
We've seen these metals where you might have a bracelet with magnets in it or something like that. But I feel like there's something maybe to this. Maybe subtle, but we know metals can hurt us. We know lead is not something we want to be ingesting, right? So why couldn't it be the other way too?
That's like the Romans thought wine tasted best if it is kept in a lead vault.
Right.
It
adds that little kick. Yeah.
You know, there were Chinese emperors that thought that eating mercury-laced candy would make them immortal.
There you go.
You know, we've got a love-hate relationship with the metals in our lives. However, I do find it amusing that in one simple way, you are correct about the copper. Copper is an antibacterial, which is why we have entire lines of clothing now that are, you know, majorly advertised as copper infused or copper treated, especially in athletic gear.
Wait, you said anti-inflammatory?
No, it's an antibacterial.
Oh, an antibacterial.
Yeah, so
That's
that's where
interesting.
we see a lot of like socks and stuff. Like you'll see these advertised everywhere. And then, you know, these are copper infused. And it's like, well, that's because bacteria doesn't like copper. So in a roundabout sort of way, Max, you are correct.
Because there's even like copper baths.
Yes. And, you know, again, you have to beware of anything considered ancient knowledge because they got it right sometimes, and sometimes it went horribly wrong.
Like mercury.
Yes, like mercury being one of the best examples of, as we've gone through time, it is really just honestly trial and error of, you know, silver. Silver is also an antibacterial.
Yeah.
So you'll wind up with, even today, people doing silver colloidal drinks.
Right.
You know, silver infused. We found out gold isn't really hurt by anything.
Yeah, it's
So,
pretty resilient. Isn't
You
it?
know, as a part of human medicine, you know, we had gold inset in our teeth
Yeah.
to cure a cavity because gold didn't do anything to you.
Right.
So, you know, there's a long history of the metals, human body, and what we perceived as health.
Well,
So,
yeah.
you know, today still people flock to areas that offer quote unquote mineral baths.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yep.
Well, what it makes me think of, Alan, is you've got a friend. I thought you told me that, and she's got some kind of blanket that is more or less a Bernoulli cage, right?
Yes.
And, okay. And if you don't know what that is, folks, I guess Alan could explain that. But
Yep.
it's what is a Bernoulli cage?
Well,
'Cause
a
it's-
Bernoulli cage is anything that stops wavelengths.
Right.
So if you took your cell phone inside of a metal object with the proper wire mesh or metal coating around it, you wouldn't get any more signal.
Right.
Because as I love to point out to everybody goes, well, you know, we're not bathed in electrons every minute of every day. Well, yes, we are.
Yeah,
And
I
as a
don't. Yeah.
Matter
I
of
don't think
fact,
that.
if you are listening to our voices right now, how did we get into your car?
Right.
How did we get into your radio? We got there via some form of wavelength.
That's what I feel like. If you had the right kind of detection equipment, if you put on some NASA space age
Yes.
goggles and dropped the lens and it showed you, you know, this is what's happening in ultraviolet. This is what's happening in whatever. There's probably fields and waves all around us in our home. Like, and I would even think copper, maybe that creates a certain
If
wavelength.
you want an
and-
interesting,
know.
all right, if you really want an interesting experiment, and I'm going to spin around and look directly at Max and go online and buy you an inexpensive electron magnetic field detector, an EMF detector. You want to have hours of fun, walk around your home,
Yeah.
and you will discover strange things about your home.
Is that when people say that their house is haunted, but it's actually just electro?
Exactly. Because of the way you have arranged your home, because of where your monitor faces, your TV faces, because of the sockets in your walls, anytime you move electrons anywhere, you are creating a field.
Yeah, and that's why I feel like the more we're aware of these things,
Exactly.
and the more strategically you lay them out. And I mean, it's a security thing, because I thought that there's some new car theft thing where they can open your car if they have the right device, but if you
Yep.
put your keys inside of like a Bernoulli case or something,
No, they
you've
can't be
protected.
read.
Right. So there's a lot of things where it's a security deal too.
You know,
but,
so Max, I'm going to let you go and go picture the first person that actually took two lodestones and watched them click together. Can you imagine the level of magic or witchcraft they would have had to have thought that was?
And get burned at the stake.
Well, but, that was basically the discovery of magnetism.
Yeah.
That kind of makes me think of the idea of like how, like geomagnetic storms and even hearkening to what we just experienced recently.
We just had northern lights, which was nothing more than the sun basically belching up a huge amount of flaming plasma energy. And we actually saw it in Memphis as it went burning across the top of our atmosphere.
Yeah, when does that ever happen?
Every so often, there's again, we've said this many, many times on this show. The world and the universe doesn't care what we think.
Right.
It's up to us to figure it out.
Yeah. And really, the more aware you are of this stuff, I don't think there's anything, new agey or weird about it. I think it makes a lot of sense. Electronic fields or the healing properties of certain metals. Why not? Why not tap into that?
It's there. It's there. It's up to us to explore it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Allan, I really need your help on this one. We have got, and the city as well, we've got an epic Critter Wars coming up here next on Tool Talk Radio.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
When my new apprentice arrives, he will take care of you.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I've got great confidence in this apprentice. Nothing could go wrong.
I just got done talking on Talk Money this morning about the price of the Death Star.
Oh, yeah, we heard all about that. That was pretty good, Max. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Alan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling hotline at 901-683-0989. And yeah, Max, I think for people who have been listening all morning, I think they heard your brilliant. It was pretty good, I got to admit. You did some deep research.
Apparently, I have too much free time on my hands, according to Jim Shoemaker.
Yeah, but it was
not going to argue that point.
It was checking. It was calculating the amounts it would cost to build three fictitious. Three megastructures. Yeah, exactly. It was pretty good. But hey, we're gonna get to something else in a second. But Max, you said we had a couple texts.
We have one text today.
Okay.
So far, we got Angel, and she says, or she texted in with a picture that says, National Allan Day is celebrated on November 28th every year.
Really? Okay. Well, it's funny because Allan, the first thought that came to me was, wow, National Allan Day occasionally would fall on Thanksgiving, but as you pointed out, it's actually a little late, right?
No, look at it as National, Thanksgiving leftover day.
Right, because I thought the biggest food celebration of the year, it's logical that Allan's Day would fall on that. So, all right, pretty good, Max. So,
well, National Joe Day is March 27th.
Right. And what's fitting about that, I believe that baseball opens on March. I thought it opened on March 27th this year. It's always near the end of March anyway. So, all right. Well, for us, I guess we'll find ways to celebrate this year. So, I don't know when National Max Day is. That's
probably never.
Okay. All right. Well, Max, let's shift gears, man.It it.
That's the most foul, cruel, and bad-tempered rodent you ever set eyes on. I just wanted to hug.
Oh, rats in the kitchen, just like that delightful movie I taped in the theater.
Okay. I'd like to see that anyway. I'd like to see his. Okay. Anyway, hey, Allan. So the Critter Wars this week it's actually international, technically.
Yeah.
And it's local, and it's also very personal for me. So, boy, so I guess this was Thursday. Was it Thursday?
Mm-hmm.
Here in the Mid-South in Olive Branch, Mississippi, 6,800 residents lost their power due to a squirrel.
That is correct.
Well, how does a squirrel knock out 6,800 homes or 6,800?
Well, one, squirrels are conductive.
Yeah.
Whether they want to be or not. And two, they chew incessantly.
Okay.
And three, they're very agile.
Yeah.
So, but the combination of something that has to chew constantly, as you well know from your own home.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They chew incessantly on anything and everything. And for a very bizarre reason, they seem attracted to either the Romex coating that we put on electrical wires.
Well, for them,
or
it's like
they're
gum, right?
or they're attracted to the electrical field. But we're not really sure which, but for some reason they like wires.
Which we were just talking about.
Now,
yeah, electric fields. So, yep.
We've also set up a fake forest in the fact that we have electrical lines run everywhere.
Yeah, because for them that's probably pretty
They
appealing. They
just
can
hop
run
on
from
that
one
baby
tree to a
and
next,
run
just
to the
running
next
down a
one.
Yeah.
The problem is they don't understand electrical fields.
Yeah,
so
amazing.
that when you cross between two boundaries and you create a short circuit, you instantly create rodent flambe and you just took out the power tower.
So don't cross the streams.
Do not cross the streams. You are very correct. Somewhere, I think it was estimated across the country because of the gray squirrel.
Yeah.
The gray squirrel especially. It's like 60 to 70% of all damage to the electrical system is squirrels.
Yeah, I don't doubt it, man.
They're just the worst.
Well,
and they don't mean to do it. I mean, they're not, there wasn't a little meeting one night and all the squirrels decided to start chewing the wires.
Yeah.
They're just looking for a place to make a nest. They're shortcutting across the road. They chewed on the wrong thing and kapow.
Well, you say that, Alan, but I'm starting to wonder if there's some sort of coordinated attack going on. Because here's the thing. Within 24 hours of this was on Wednesday, in Toronto, the exact same thing happened. Almost the exact same number of residents. 6,500 Toronto residents lost their power for over 3 hours, all because of a squirrel.
Yes.
But also, I've seen videos, so I don't know what they're up to. I think they're attacking the infrastructure. I don't know if they've been weaponized. Squirrel, who knows what
we haven't even. Well, see here.
I mean,
the problem
Planet of the
is,
Apes just came out. We saw how that went. So, but Alan, but here's the thing. I'm not liking the idea that our infrastructure is that vulnerable that we can't even handle a squirrel walking across some wires. I mean, maybe we need a better.
It's worse. You ought to be in Brazil.
What do they got?
They got hornets that drill into them. They got. They got. Every population has when you have infrastructure exposed, something causes problems.
Yeah.
Out west, they have to spread the power towers further apart from wire to wire so that an eagle or a hawk or an owl can fly through them or land on them without touching the next wire and getting kapopped.
Well, see, that was what I thought, because I saw one squirrel video, because, of course, you got to go down the rabbit hole when you're investigating this, and there was one where, to me, it looked like he just touched both wires at the same time. It was an explosion.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think the squirrel survived. I think
it was 20,000 volts of you didn't want to do that.
Right. And I'm assuming these squirrels in this one didn't make it either. So,
you also get bird nest.
Right.
We'll get in the Mid-South, we have, a wide variety of critters. Raccoons have been known to cause problems.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're reaching, again, between wires, especially at the at the pole. Right there at that pole where everything comes together. That's your real danger point. That's where a critter can get up there and, hate to say it, cats cause problems on occasion.
Sure.
They go up the pole and they don't touch the third rail, kind of thing with the subways. So when you have infrastructure and you have stuff exposed, a critter can wind up in it. The problem is squirrels are so pervasive. And in the Mid-South, we have a lot of them.
Yeah.
We do not have a shortage of squirrels. As you well know, if you got a decent-sized tree, you got at least one or two squirrels.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I could say is at least it was probably an instant. He didn't suffer. This was pretty much instant explosion, and you're done. So.
I hate to say it, but when you work around ballparks and stuff like that, there is kind of a little thing where you go around in the morning and make sure you've removed, bird and squirrel bodies from things that got electrocuted.
Right. Okay. All right, let's move it along. But that's what's going on. Hey, we can't help what the news is. We just report it. So it's like, it happened right here. So.
Yeah, be careful. And, really, if you can help it, don't feed them.
They don't need our help.
Them. They really do not need our help.
Okay, so now this is coming home on a very personal level. And this literally, we've almost watched this happen overnight. Within a couple days now, we've mentioned that we live on a corner.
Right.
And the way our yard is exposed, we are more or less surrounded by, we have a busy street on one side, a busy street on the other. So it's
the end cap.
It's almost like a concrete island.
Yes.
And I will tell you, our neighbor takes really good care of her yard and very meticulous.
Right.
She's a great yard, great landscaper. And I know she's installed those sonar things to drive the moles away.
Right.
And I know other neighbors have made efforts.
Something similar.
I feel like they're all winding up in our yard now.
They are.
And
they
so
are. Yep.
My wife was walking out, and it's one of those, you know how it is. You walk, and all of a sudden your foot sinks into the ground. Well, it's gotten, we had our spray, we got our spray done either once every 2 months or whatever, and they do a great job. But they pointed out so the moles have set up a pretty sophisticated network in our side yard. And so we have that, but now it's also causing problems with ant hills. The ants you push down, they've made headquarters inside these mole holes, and these are the most aggressive ants I've ever seen. You push down, they're all over, and they're going to get all over your leg, and they're going to. Yeah. So we're having.
They
to
like
attack
that soft dirt. Yeah, they like that soft dirt. Yeah.
But. So what do we do, Alan? I mean, and I'm trying to not kill these guys, but at some point, I don't know, man.
Well, if you recall from our early days on the Fix It Up show, there was a secret recipe of something you could put in the holes.
Okay, and can we give that out, or is that proprietary
I will give that
information?
out right now. It won't kill them, but the idea is to go make them be somebody else's problem.
Okay,
and it's an equal parts castor oil and cayenne pepper.
What do you just get a gallon bucket?
You just mix it up. You make a nice slurry. You poke a little hole in there and pour it down in the hole. And it's the capsaicin, the cayenne pepper is very much an irritant. And they'll go move to somebody else's yard and be a problem.
Okay, I had a question too, because on a practical note, what I'm thinking of is I know these little tunnels are just right below the surface. Well,
yeah, but a couple inches down. Right?
Can you take I'm almost picturing like a mashed potato masher, but only full size, like something you would use to pack the ground. Does that make a difference if you pack their tunnels in? Or?
Yeah, it does, because it makes them have to redo them.
I mean, at least it's better than those people that make art out of the ant hills and pour metal down in there.
Yeah, that's pretty quick. I mean, we're going to have to contend with the ants as well. I don't mind if ants are in the yard. I don't want them in the house, but
well, you're going to need to take care of the ants, because you're going to wind up with fire ants in this particular part of the world.
Okay. Well, we're taking action.
We'll talk a little bit more about moles when we come back. How about that?
Okay, sounds good. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Call Poison Control if you're bit by a spider. But check that it's covered by your healthcare provider.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
I mean, they sound like typical bureaucrats, Alan. So you're wondering if you've been poisoned to death or if you're going to turn into Spider-Man, and the first thing is you're supposed to call your healthcare provider. I don't know.
Yeah, all I got to say is I've been through 2 intergalactic seismic events, and I still don't have any superpowers. So I'm very disappointed.
Get to the hospital, folks. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning. Here with my buddy Alan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And joining us in the second hour will be our good buddy Larry Brown from Brown Refrigeration. So if you have any HVAC questions or concerns, or if you want to learn, anything about it, that is his expertise. Get in touch with us. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. Well, Alan, before the break, we were discussing my really almost crisis situation in our yard with these moles that are creating ant hills, really aggressive. These are big ants, and you push down on one of their hills, and man, they come flying.
They're swarming,
and they have no problem crawling up your arm and swarming your legs and everything. But I thought there was one other factor in this, Alan. I mean, moles aren't just digging up your grass for no reason. They're after food, right?
Right.
Okay, so
they are
we've got
actually
3 critters involved in this situation.
right. You've got your grubs, your earthworms, moles, and then people taking advantage of it. Moles are, and I hear this all the time. Them moles got in my garden and ate my flowers. No,
Yeah.
they didn't. The moles are voracious carnivores.
Yeah, they don't care
eat-
about your flowers.
Man,
Yeah.
they do not care. And I find it hilarious that tunnel that you feel in your yard, they kind of make by turning somersaults.
Oh, is that what it is?
They dig a little dirt in front of them, and then they wrap their body around it and somersault up and push the dirt they just dug up. So that's why you get a mole hill
Right.
going in your yard. And periodically, when they hit something like a sidewalk, you'll get a big pile of dirt
Right.
because they got no place to put it. So they bring it back out and push it out that way.
Yeah.
So a mole is really trying to set up a network, a trap. So as grubs and worms move around in the soil, they fall into the mole tunnel and they get eaten by a little fuzzy mole shark.
Okay.
So that's what they're doing. Now, for our side of it, yes, Joe, there is a wonderful tool, and it is an asphalt tamper.
Right.
And you can get it at any big box store, and it is a great way of flattening your yard.
And a good tricep workout.
Oh
right?
yeah, you want to build up those shoulders and that back, work on those triceps.
Yeah. Lift correctly.
Oh, yeah.
Engage your core.
Oh yeah,
You know,
oh yeah.
so-
You can get a serious what do they call that? CrossFit workout.
So, because that was my thought, because the anthill tunnels are right in there with the mole holes, and
They're taking advantage of the loosened soil.
So
Right.
we got a three-pronged attack that we got to deal with. So
I'm not sure if they're common around here, Alan, but could you kind of speak to my concern about the idea of weevils? Because I know they can be equally voracious.
Oh no, we have weevils. Oh my gosh, have you not heard of a boll weevil?
Yes.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Oh, they about wiped out the cotton industry at one point. A weevil is a tiny little beetle with a very weird shaped nose, and they have a tendency to bore into things. So weevils are responsible for, honestly, millions, if not billions of dollars in crop damage. And they are prevalent in the Mid-South. Ask any farmer. So yeah, weevils are there. What we're really looking at is usually your June bug or your Japanese beetle larva. Those are your typical white grubs that you find in your yard when you're gardening.
That's
No,
their
you're
dinner.
digging around and
Yeah.
you find that kind of half moon shaped white thing with the little legs at one end. That is a baby beetle.
Okay.
And that is like buffet time for your
Right.
moles.
Okay.
And they're looking for earthworms and stuff like that. So when you have your yard treated like I know you do, you're reducing the number of beetle larvae and that kind of stuff in your soil. But unfortunately, Joe, you're the end of the corral.
That's the thing. They
So
have
if your
nowhere to go.
neighbors are driving the moles away, you happen to be that last island.
Yeah, they're surrounded by concrete. They're not running across
Yeah,
a
so-
4-lane road.
Yeah,
you
so
know?
you're kind of that last little corner there. So sadly for moles, they're also very voracious and they have to eat quite a bit. If they can't find enough to eat, they will starve fairly quickly.
So
it could be a self-correcting problem in the next week or two.
and I guess cats aren't going to solve the issue. You don't
A
unleash
cat isn't
20
going to solve
cats
it.
on these guys.
I have a
but, yeah.
friend. I have a friend that has a small dog that has discovered what we affectionately call outdoor squeaky toys.
Yeah,
and
but I bet they have a lot of holes in the yard now, right? They got to dig
Well,
them up.
no, the dog is very precise. It doesn't just dig up the tunnel. It waits to see dirt move, and then
Okay.
there's a pounce.
Okay.
Yeah, so
It's a tricky situation no matter how you cut it. But.
It is, but I think if I were you, I would try the old castor oil and cayenne pepper trick.
That's what I'm going to do.
And see if that can get them to at least, stay out of the areas of your yard where you want to walk.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, I want to shift gears, Alan,
Mm-hmm.
because I wasn't here last week, and I took it gave me it made me reflect, like we said, we've got listeners all over the place, which is great.
do.
One of the
All
nice
around the
things
world.
about a digital platform you can have. And so I visited my daughter in Albuquerque, and you talk about night and day different. It's a totally different climate. It's a different environment. It's homeowners have totally different challenges in Albuquerque than they do in the Mid-South here.
They do.
And it was kind of an idea of, hey, there's people that may move. They may move from a place like I moved from Chicago to California. It was a night and day what we were dealing with out there. Well, in Albuquerque, it's already a mile above sea level. I don't know if people are aware of that. And they have mountains nearby. Like there's a mountain 20 minutes from my daughter's house that's a mile up. It doesn't look like it from the ground, but it is. And that's the first place I've ever gone where you can notice how thin the air is. Like you're gasping for air. However, Allan, what I observed was, for one thing, she told me their air conditioning systems are totally different out there.
Right.
And they deal more with things like dry rot and sun and bleaching and it's
desiccation.
Desiccation, as you call it. And what I couldn't figure out is it's very barren. Of course, if you look at things of New Mexico, it's a lot of rocks. It's a lot of, it's a lot of brush. And then as soon as we started going up this mountain, it was almost like a line you could see, and all of a sudden it got real fertile up there. There were pine trees, and it was real lush, which made no sense to me. I guess I would have thought it would be less, and there was even snow at the top of this place, and it was 65 degrees out, which made no sense to me. So there's things happening in our environment that are kind of hard to explain, I think. But
well, no, they're once you understand how it works, and the one thing people forget is air has density.
Right. Yeah.
And the thinner you are, the less it holds things like heat or moisture.
Right.
So that is why when you get out to someplace like Albuquerque at certain air densities, aka sea levels, of some areas may seem rather lush because there's snow melt and there's moisture being held to a certain level. But below a certain level, it's now desiccated out and it's drying out. And you get out there, again, depending upon what sea level-esque area you live in, depends on, you may actually, and this is going to sound wild to anybody in Houston, New Orleans, the Mid-South, any place, they actually have to add moisture to their air.
Oh, yeah. Because our humidity is what, like
our humidity averages 70-80%.
And theirs is what?
Theirs is 30 to 50.
Yeah, because my nose was all dry. My skin dried out. Like I had to put hand lotion on, which I never do because it was so dry. Yeah.
It's a very different world when you get out there. And then the other part of being in a mountainous area are the valleys, where you have a really different inversion because the air gets so much more dense than it was at the top of the mountain. So you actually wind up with anywhere from 3 to 4 totally different environments all within a mile of each other.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of weird, but it's cool. The elevation thing is what got me, because like I said, I've never been anywhere where the elevation bothered me except at the top of that place. But I don't know if you've got an explanation for this, though. This was... I couldn't miss this. The pigeons were gigantic in there. Why are the pigeons so big in Albuquerque?
Well,
they were massive.
It's that variety of they're a variety of rock dove, and that particular variety that lives out there is basically a little isolated. So you're getting a little gigantism going on. So it'd be like an island.
You mean they're thriving because they're
living in the perfect environment for them. So they are being all the pigeon they can possibly be.
I like to feel good about that.
Yeah,
okay,
well,
good.
you get out to the Grand Canyon, and people are usually shocked when they see a raven.
Okay.
You've seen a crow, and in Memphis, we have some pretty impressive crows.
Right.
But, their cousin, the raven, is even bigger and has a hooked beak. And, and as a friend of mine put it, when they make a sound, you desperately want to go get them a sucrette.
Oh, really?
Because their voice is so raspy and harsh.
Can I ask, what's the difference between a crow and a raven?
Ravens are generally larger and have a hooked beak, and there are a few other minor differences. They're all the same family, but the crow we have here is a little more vegetarian and opportunistic. Ravens out west are a little more in the of we like to go find somebody's deer kind of thing. Yeah. So.
The hunter. So, all right. Well, anyway, it was an interesting observation, and every homeowner, depending on where you live, is going to have a different issue.
Yeah, they do.
You're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
You've got paper and you've got paint. A deadly combination! Let me show you.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
You brought him back, huh, Max? I mean, what does this guy got? Paint from, 1841 or something? I mean, how dangerous is paint and paper these days, Allan?
You'd be surprised.
Messy, but harmless. So anyway, get a grip, buddy. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Alan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And on tap is going to be our good buddy Larry Brown with Brown Refrigeration. He's going to be in the house finally, Alan. It's tough to get him here. He's too dedicated to his work.
Busy man.
But he's carving out some time for us today. So if you want to talk to Larry or send him a text or get in touch, or, hey, if you want to see what he looks like, he'll be on camera too. But you can get in touch with us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989.
I wonder when a Larry Day is.
Look it up. I mean, that's what Google is for, Max. So, but in a minute, we're going to get to our must-have item of the week. Before we do that, though, of course, since we just mentioned the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline, let's take a minute to consider the work of our good buddy Jay Hill with Big M Roofing and Remodeling. Jay is all about the exterior protection of your home, and he's highly qualified, especially when it comes to roof. But he's all about roofing, siding, gutters, windows, really from top to bottom, creating systems that keep everything where it's supposed to be. You keep the water out, you keep the air, drafts, everything out, and keep your house comfortable and safe. But we always lean heavily into his roofing expertise because Jay is he's a GAF Master Elite Installer. He is always 5 stars with the Better Business Bureau. That's not easy to do, Alan. I mean, I've been online and I've seen some businesses where they, you don't get those kind of reviews unless you're doing top-notch work. And Jay is one of the most highly rated roofers in the city. I mean, that's, I should say in the Mid-South because he works the whole region. But also, one of the things that sets Jay apart is he is a former insurance agent, which is really useful. It came in handy for you and me and our buddy Brandon Olmstead because it's really tricky. Roof damage or roof replacement covered by your homeowner's insurance is not very cut and dry. There's a lot of nuance that goes on with that, and you really need an advocate to navigate that whole process. So if you've got damage to your roof, Jay should be the first guy you call because the consultation is free. If there is damage that's going to be covered by your homeowner's insurance, that's the first thing they're going to look at. And if there is, boy, is that going to save you a lot of money, and it's very exciting. And if not, Jay also has great financing available. But either way, that free consultation is going to be very eye-opening. It's going to give you your path forward. And also, Jay brings a real optimism and a real excitement to every job he's on. He's a very dynamic personality. He puts you at ease, and he makes the whole process really kind of fun. And that includes all of his other remodeling work. So he's a great person to be involved with all of your contracting work. You can get in touch with Jay. Call him directly at 901-484-5645 or go to bigmroofingandremodeling.com. All right, Max, here we go, buddy. So I've got, we're going to get to our must-have item of the week. It's a little bit more expansive, actually. It's going to open a bigger conversation. But, Alan, I'm holding it up. This thing, I think I've had this for 25 years. You can't really hurt it, but tell people what I'm holding up.
You were holding up the infamous plumb bob.
Can I give a little bit of an etymology real quickly?
Yeah,
a
plumb bob.
Plumb bob, might come from a Latin or Greek term for lead.
Yeah.
As I assume maybe they used lead back in the day for the plumb bob.
They might
did
have.
Indeed.
I feel like the plumb bob is something everybody has seen and everybody understands. I mean, it's a perfect introductory tool for a young person. If you want to teach your 5-year-old about physics and whatever, give them a plumb bob. This one is great, Alan. It's solid metal, but it has a little twist off top because the string will wear out.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, and so it's really easy. It's got a little hole in the top. I'm holding it up to the camera. You can, if the string wears out, my string is pretty worn here, Alan, and you just change it and you put it there. But this plumb bob is never going to wear out. You can hand it down for generations.
Oh, yeah.
But it's basically, if you don't know what a plumb bob is, folks, it is a pointy this one looks like a big chunky pencil tip that is it's about 4 inches long, and it's solid metal and it's heavy and it's got a point on it. And the idea is basically you just hang a string from one height wherever you want to go, and then once it stops swaying around, it's going to point to the spot directly below it. And it's very useful. I was just installing these hollow columns on this carport that I'm building, and it's perfect because usually you have for those columns you always have these the top cap and the bottom cap, and all you do is you find the center that you want for the column. You go all the way down and you can drill your anchor hole, because I always even with those columns I always support them with at least a 4x4 in the center, but you put a hole in there, whatever, but it gives you the center because those things are not they're kind of a trapezoid shape, so you can't just stick a level on there and find whatever. But Alan, plumb bobs, I don't even know, they're ancient. Who was the first person to use a plumb bob?
I'm pretty sure it goes back to Og.
Yeah.
who had a piece
Uncle
of
Og?
vine and a rock. You know?
They wanted to
Uncle
level
Og?
out their cave entrance or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's just. Well, it's one of
I
those
love simple things, though.
It's one of those incredibly stupid ideas that caught on immediately, but it took the Da Vinci of that time to go, wait a minute, I got an idea.
Yeah.
And you just hung a string.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because now I've been a carpenter over 30 years here in the Mid-South, and I've been a woodworker for almost, most of my adult life. Ever since 8th grade, I've been an avid woodworker. So I've got a lot of experience and a lot of things in my memory and a lot of tricks. And it's funny because every job you have this new challenge. And almost every time when I'm looking at something and I have to do a bunch of math, I had to do a bunch of math this week to calculate square footage for the ceiling. And it almost always, it goes back to some simple idea. It's never all that complex when you think about it. You're like, oh, all I got to do is just take this angle thing here or whatever. But the plumb bob is like that. That's one of the things I love about it, But the plumb bob is also very interesting for bigger applications, you could say. Growing up, I'll never forget this. Growing up in Chicago, I was fortunate because we had a really, really great place to learn about physics and to learn about science and to learn really about history. It's the Museum of Science and Industry. And right in the center of one of the halls, they had what's called a Foucault pendulum, Alan, which is more or less a giant plumb bob.
I would correct you, Joe. I think it's Foucault pendulum, named after Michael Foucault, the French philosopher.
So it's a French pronunciation. But either way, folks, all it is it I want to say it goes up well over 200 feet. However tall that dome is,
Right.
It goes all the way to the top, and then underneath they created a dial with it's divided into it almost looks like a giant clock, but it's not. But Alan, it never sits still.
Nope.
And there's a reason for that, which I thought was interesting.
Because of the spin of the earth.
Right. Yeah. It goes in a very interesting pattern. It just sort of sways one way and then another.
But because of the turn of the earth, each sway moves a very particular amount based on the length of the string.
Right.
So you wind up with a very consistent, almost like a string art pattern.
That's exactly what you get. If you were to trace it with ink or something.
Right. It would look like one of those string art. Remember the little spirograph toy you had as a kid?
Right.
It would look exactly like that because it would create these little patterns.
But you talked about it earlier. Somebody had to think of doing that. And I wonder at what height, because obviously if the thing was 10 feet off the ground, you probably wouldn't get, maybe on a microscopic level you'd get that, but the higher up the chain and the wire goes, the more pronounced it is. But
Well, and I always have this weird thought of, can you imagine being the first person that saw it do that?
And how did you explain it?
So, you're medieval times, you're working on building this tower, you're 3 or 4 stories up, and now your plumb bob won't quit swinging.
Right.
Yeah.
I learned something kind of cool. The plumb bob, or the Foucault pendulum, as you said, actually is named after Leon Foucault, who was a French physicist, and that the first use of that one was actually in 1851.
Okay. Yeah. So that's going back pretty far. I mean, people were already thinking about the rotation. We already had telescopes. We had everything.
Yeah.
Or like gyroscopes, too.
But it's never a bad idea to remember that there are forces and stresses on our homes that maybe they're on a small level, but they're there, and they're things you don't think about. It's a simple fact that we're on a giant rotating spaceship going thousands of miles through the galaxy. Every
and that
second.
you might be in a seismic zone or a floodplain or
to
the type of soil that your home is built on.
Or to quote U2, she moves in mysterious ways.
Exactly. So, but the plumb bob's a great tool. Definitely you need one in your
Oh,
arsenal.
yeah,
So.
absolutely.
All right. Well, Alan, hour 1 is in the can, but I'm looking forward to hour 2 because we're going to be visiting with our good buddy Larry Brown from Brown Refrigeration. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Alan.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Alan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com, our pal Max over there behind the glass. And in the house, long overdue for a visit, is our good buddy Larry Brown with Brown Refrigeration. So it's a perfect day to get in touch with us. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And if you've been dying of curiosity and you're like, this Larry Brown, what does this guy look like? I've heard his name many times. Well, just go to the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's Facebook page or The Roar's X page, and you can see what he looks like. Larry, you're on camera. Keep that in mind.
I know. He looks like a handsome individual.
Okay, well, all right. There you go.
He's definitely got more hair than either one of us.
Yeah, you got more foliage up there. So, but Larry, it's good to have. It's hard to get you in the studio because you work. You actually care about your business. So
That's right. And so, and it had a lot of things going on in our lives, but it's all good.
So
glad to be here this morning.
So, Larry, I was thinking about it, and it's funny how we sometimes are all thinking the same way, but I wanted to ask you, I'm just going to ask you this right out of the gate. I was thinking about how many things you might have seen in your career because you've been in, your father was at HVAC. He taught you things. Mm-hmm. You've seen window units that were 500 pounds. You've seen all these different, I would say, pivotal epochs in HVAC. And I wanted to ask you about some of those today, but you came right out of the gate and said, we're about due for a major one coming up. So I thought maybe you could tell us about it. But
well, in the infinite wisdom of the EPA, they've decided to come out with a different refrigerant for heating and air conditioning units. It's called R454A, and it's going to be replacing the R410. So at the end of basically January 1 of 25, there'll be no more R410A air conditioners produced, and then it'll switch over to this new refrigerant, which has it's a lower global warming potential with the new refrigerant than with the old refrigerant, so that's why they're doing it.
Okay, well, that sounds like a pretty big retrofit.
Units.
Yeah. Wait, what do you mean they're not gonna? Because some people might go, well, so what? Refrigerant is refrigerant. I just, but why is this such a big deal? I guess.
Well, obviously, anytime there's a big change like that, it takes a lot. There's a learning curve involved. The new equipment's going to come out. One thing about this 454 refrigerant is that it's flammable, so it can. Not extremely flammable, but it is flammable somewhat. It has some like propane in it, or a certain percentage. So under the right conditions, it could explode or have a fire. So there's a lot of extra things they're having to add to the units, like leak detectors, which will monitor the indoor part of the unit to see if it has any, if it detects any of this refrigerant, will automatically shut the unit off, and then start the blower. Will hopefully dilute the gas down to where it's not at an explosive level. And so it's going to be interesting for sure, guys. But this is what's happening. There's no like this is maybe a plan. It's really going to happen. So basically, in 7 months, 410A, they're no longer going to produce units with 410A. There's still going to be plenty of 410A refrigerant for those of you that have those type of units. It's not going to just quit. We're not going to quit making the Freon or the refrigerant. They're going to, it'll just be they just don't make any new units with it. So,
Wow.
Okay, so you don't have to scrap your HVAC unit. You just have to be aware. But Larry, these are the things you always have a heads up on. Because I would imagine 4 or 5 years from now, this probably will be significant, right? I mean, if you're due for a new unit, it's going to function differently, right?
Again, it's going to. It's still going to, cool your home or whatever, but it's going to be a little different about doing it. One thing that's significant is that obviously with this new technology, it's going to be more expensive. So everybody's predicting 15 to 20% price increase on new installations. So, if you're thinking about, need one here in the near future, you may want to consider getting one of these R410As. They're going to be, the refrigerant will be around for many years to come, and save yourself some bucks.
That is interesting.
And then of course, always with new technology, there's a learning curve that work the bugs out. So we don't know how long that's going to take. It's kind of it's really new territory for the HVAC industry.
It kind of reminds me. Is this worldwide? Or is this just...
No, well, it is. There's a lot of industrialized nations that are belong to, the Montreal Protocol, which is what started all this back in the 80s. And different countries, they set goals to do it by a certain time, but some countries enacted earlier. Europe is really big, and, refrigerant, new types of equipment and refrigerant that has lower impact on the environment. The United States is, coming up to 2025. This what it's all about is it doesn't have as much global warming potential. So they're hoping this will help reduce global warming.
So this okay. It's about the emissions. It's about okay. Well, I mean, we have to think about that stuff, right, Allan? I mean,
well, the thing to remember of when you're talking about any HVAC system, and Larry, this kind of goes back to my what do you wish people really knew about how these things work? Of anytime you hear somebody say that they need to, and I'm going to do this for the camera, your little bunny ears, we need to top off the HVAC system. Mm-hmm. All right, well, what that actually translates to is we have a leak. Mm-hmm. Because you should never have to top off because it's a sealed system.
Yeah.
And if you think about the number of people that you have heard say, oh, well, I just need to throw a pound or two on it this year and it'll be great. Mm-hmm. Well, it's leaking.
Yeah.
That means you have a failure in that system somewhere that is costing you money, efficiency, and as the refrigerant, runs down, the unit loses efficiency and costs you more.
Right.
So, for anybody out there that is, ever said the words, well, I just need to top off the unit, you have a leak. Mm-hmm. You have a problem that needs to be solved.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Allan. I mean, and of course, back when I started doing this in the early '80s, that was a very common thing.
Everybody said
people top their units off. But nowadays with the the cost of everything, refrigerant's way more expensive than it was back then. Mm-hmm. It's kind of it's pretty costly to get them just topped off. This is just to get a pound or two could be $500 to $1,000, depending on how much refrigerant you need and what type it is. So it's a lot more expensive to be just topping it off every year than it used to be. And plus, it's just not the right thing to do for the environment. You know.
Well, that's what you got to think about. We can't just keep cranking stuff out. So, but I'm curious though, Larry. This R454A, is it? Are these units going to be even? I mean, every year we go by, the units get more and more efficient. So, I mean, they kind of pay for themselves over time, right? I mean, because your utility bill is going to go down.
Well, obviously, compared to your old unit, they're going to be much more energy efficient. So, yeah, they're going to pay for themselves over the long haul. As far as the efficiency level, there's not been any discussion about them being more efficient than they currently are. It's just all about like an environmental thing, going over to this more friendly, environmentally friendly refrigerant.
Okay, but it definitely sounds like you don't want Chuck in his truck working on your, because flammable. Well, you don't want them doing that anyway. These things are precisely calibrated instruments. So, I mean,
Yeah, it really, it's so complex now. It really takes trained, technicians to be able to charge a unit, charge it the right way to where, again, you're going to get maximum efficiency out of it. So,
okay. Because I'm still thinking, though, from what you're throwing a lot at us today, Larry. So we've got January 1st. I feel like there's this looming deadline. I'm just wondering if somebody was on the fence about taking action, if they need to pull the trigger, sooner than later. But, hey, Larry, either way, they're going to have questions. How do they get in touch with you?
Well, you could just give us a call on 901-362-1881 is the number. We're there, actual people answer the phone right here in Memphis, Tennessee at our office. So just give us a call, or you can check us out on the web at brownref.com, or you can hit us up on Facebook.
Yeah, you got a good Facebook page too, And what were you going to say, Alan? I thought you had something.
I was going to say for the person that wants to, like you said, you should really be a trained HVAC technician. The days of going out there and fiddling around with it are long past. And the one thing I wanted to point out is more is not good.
Right.
If you get these systems out of balance, more can be as bad, if not worse, than too little.
Right.
So watching a technician getting it dialed in just right is artwork.
Yeah. And Chuck and his truck's going to avoid your warranty, too, so stay away. Anyway, you're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're talking HVAC today with our good buddy Larry Brown from Brown Refrigeration. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Alan.
I got them a toaster. They called off the wedding and gave the toaster back to me. I tried to return the toaster to the store, and they said they no longer sold that kind of toaster. So now my house has got 2 toasters.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Yeah, the smart move is you don't buy the wedding gift till literally the day before the wedding. Anything can happen, Alan. And you're stuck with 2 toasters. For you, that's not a problem, though.
It's like just 2.
Yeah. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Alan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com. Our pal Max over there behind the glass. And in the house, our good buddy Larry Brown from Brown Refrigeration. It's a great day to tap into his expertise, especially with all these new changes coming to HVAC technology. So if you want to reach out and ask some questions or share your comments, you can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And Larry, we have to make a retraction. Well, it's not the biggest retraction in the world, but we have to make a correction about this new refrigerant. Can you tell us what we gave out bad information earlier?
Yes, we're trying to correct our mistakes. So it's actually R454B instead of A. So just want to make sure.
Yeah,
it's so new. I don't even know all the nomenclature to it, but I just want to make sure everybody was, if
you're Googling it.
Yes, correct. We were trying to give correct information.
And it comes out January 1st of 2025. It's right around the corner, and all units are now going to be made with this R454B. You know what the problem is, Larry? These scientists that are working on the all these coolants and everything, they're not. I mean, NASA. I'll give them this. Their scientists come up with good nicknames. Like they have, Mount Doom on that big mountain they discovered on Pluto and stuff. They need catchier nicknames, and you'd be able to remember it easier.
Down as far as like the refrigerant,
Everything,
yeah,
man. How are you going to remember R454B?
Well, there's more than that. There's quite a few of them, but this is the one that's going to be prevalent in heating and air conditioning units, not only residential but commercial.
Right.
Actually, some of the manufacturers are going to start producing them before the end of the year, fourth quarter. So,
so they're literally right around the corner.
Right around the corner, yeah.
It's
so, they're actually allowing any leftover R410A equipment. You'll have till January 1 of 26 to get that out of your sell it or whatever. So after that, you won't even be able to allow to sell the 410A equipment. Now, the HVAC police are not going to come around to your house checking, what kind of refrigerant you have. Whatever you've got, you can continue to use it. It's just as, obviously one day that's got to be replaced, and eventually over a period of time, all the units will, go over to this new refrigerant.
Right. And who knows, Larry, in 10 or 15 or 20 years, a new refrigerant will come out. I mean, that's just kind of the way this game works, right?
Well, obviously they're trying to, because it is a huge factor, according to scientists, about the global warming potential. And so they're just trying to, come up with better ways of doing it that, doesn't damage the ozone layer, or not the ozone, but the global warming and, the environment. That was the original reason to get rid of some of the refrigerants, was damaging the ozone layer. So now they've got that corrected somewhat, but now it's global warming, and they're just trying to get that, under control.
Okay, gotcha. So, hey, Allan, I know you got a ton of refrigeration talk to go with. You had refrigeration out the wazoo, as we said. But before we get to that, Larry, you had some specials that we didn't catch, that we didn't hit. So
yeah. So I try to bring a few specials every time I come to the show. So the first one is we're offering a service special today, $79.99 for your first unit, $49.99 for each additional unit. That's going to end at the end of May. So if you're wanting to take advantage of that, you need to give us a call, because after May we're not gonna offer this special. Also, if you're interested in a new Trane heating and air conditioning unit, we're offering 24-month no interest financing. All systems will come with a pleated filter, programmable thermostat, and 10-year parts warranty. So if you're interested in either one of those specials, just give us a call at 901-362-1881. Or you can check us out on the web at brownref.com.
Cool. All right. Not a bad deal. I mean, those service things pay for themselves. It's important. You don't just let it sit. I mean, you need these. You need your units checked out regularly.
It's just like a car. You don't drive your car and never go and get it serviced. Well, because it won't be driving long. If you don't change the oil and do the things you need to do to your car, it's going to, obviously we know it's going to shorten the life cycle. Same thing with an air conditioner. If you don't have it, serviced and taken care of, it's going to quit on you. And it's probably going to be at the worst time, and it's probably going to be a big repair.
Yeah, it's going to be that August 100-degree day. But anyway.
No.
All right. Well, Allan, you've been busy this week,
Well,
right?
as I find it amusing how certain weeks take on themes.
Yeah, we say that very often.
It's just, so it's, you get the phone call from a friend that says they got an older neighbor. The air's not working. Can you go by and take a look? So you go out, and, the first thing, is thank you, Larry, for all the training all these years. The first thing you do, you go out there and you get the garden hose and you get all the grass clippings and leaves off the fins.
Oh,
Then you
clean it off. Yeah.
Go out there, spray it down real quick. I've got a little can of coil cleaner with me and spray that in there. And, I'm not doing a super job, but it's the quickie. Let's just get the quick debris off of it. Mm-hmm. And then you go inside. And of course, it takes a few minutes because nobody knows where the filter is.
Mm-hmm. Oh, some filters are tricky, right?
Yeah, well, nobody knows where the filter is. So you finally start looking in broom closets, and in the back of the broom closet, there's an air handler. And in the air handler is a quilt. I'm sure at some point in time it was supposed to be an air filter, but now it's a quilt.
You're saying it's as thick as a quilt?
Oh my goodness gracious. You could have knitted sweaters out of this thing. And of course you pull that out and put a clean new filter in it, and turn the unit on, and then somebody in the house goes, "It's never blown air like that before." And it's so cold and it smells so good. And so once again I look at Larry and go, "All right,
that's as basic as it
folks,
gets.
change the filters. Go look at your unit." My goodness. The next round was of a commercial stop, and we were supposed to move a steam table and a cold table.
Yeah.
Because, they don't really work anymore.
What is a steam table?
All right, a steam table is a really big serving table with recessed bays with a heater underneath it, and you put water in the trays, and then you put a movable tray on top of that so that when you're serving food, you're not serving food from the pot.
Right.
So for like a buffet, so we're going to serve hot dogs. Well, let's get the hot dogs cooked, and then let's get them out of the water, and let's get them in the pan, and let's put them over steam. And that way they're not going to be waterlogged, but they're going to be nice and warm and fresh. So we're going to go move this steam table because, the steam table, this doesn't work, this doesn't blah, 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 blah. So we get in there, and I'm looking at this thing, and it's a beautiful drain job. It is actually set up into the drains and all this kind of stuff, but you turn on the valves, nothing. And it turns out that, nobody had bothered to clean the drains on this thing in, 5 years. So, we're in here, roto-rootering all this stuff out, and 2 hours later, they don't need a new steam table.
Right.
So then, they got so excited, then they kind of confessed, the cold table doesn't work either.
Oh, well, there you go.
So I go and they say, it doesn't even open.
Yeah.
Okay. I hear it on. I hear it humming. So I pop a little service door open on the back, and the last time I saw something like that, it was on the Discovery Channel in the Antarctic. I'm surprised there weren't penguins living in this thing because nobody bothered to defrost it or. So you turn it off. The next morning I go back and I'm pulling 10-pound slabs of frost ice out of this thing. And, funny thing, you get them cleaned up and defrosted and cared for. Suddenly, magically, we saved, it was, a religious organization that doesn't use this stuff much, but we saved them probably $30,000, $40,000 just in proper cleaning and maintenance of this equipment. And, the steam table now drains perfectly. You turn on the drain, it drains fabulously. So now they can do hot dog dinners and stuff like that like they always wanted to. And the cold table, now suddenly you put the trays in and you turn it on, it gets nice and cold, and the cold food stays cold and the hot food stays hot. It was really just a lot of cleaning and knowing the equipment.
Yeah, I'm wondering, Larry, how often you run into that? Because when Alan's telling me this story, it gave me a couple questions for you. But, how often is an HVAC problem just that simple where it's,
It's fairly often that it's the problems are just due to gross lack of maintenance is what, usually we see. Because, again, if you don't maintain it, you're going to have a visit from us because it's going to definitely break down. Okay?
Right.
And, so it's like cleaning the, filters, cleaning the coils. These refrigeration units have coils on them too. They get dirty. You go in there, it looks like a dog blanket or something. You peel it off and get it all cleaned up, and boom, it starts working.
There you go. Simple as that. That's why you don't avoid your HVAC expert. So you're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and we have more HVAC talk. And also, I've got a tool tale to share.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
No home is complete without a proper toolbox. Here's April and Andy's. A hammer, half of a pretzel, baseball card, a scissor half, and a flashlight filled with jelly beans.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
I guess my question would be, was the pretzels and the jelly beans in a baggie so they don't dry out or go
Didn't
stale?
sound like it.
I don't think so. They don't know anything.
Welcome. The pretzels were inside the flashlight where they were sealed up. I mean, the jelly beans are in the flashlight with the end screws.
That's a good
like
point.
a jar, you know.
So their logic is sound. Can't argue with them there.
Oh, boy.
All right. Well done, April and Andy. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration studio. So Larry approves of their methods.
Absolutely.
I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Alan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com. Our pal Max over there behind the glass. And in the house, our good pal Larry Brown from Brown Refrigeration. You can call or text us if you've got any HVAC questions or comments or really anything else. You know, we talk about it all here. You can get in touch with us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And before the break, Alan was sharing he had a bunch of things to do with HVAC, and it directly and indirectly. You were dealing with a cooling plate, you were dealing with a hot plate, you were dealing with, and it all came down to basically a simple fix. It was basically things were dirty or filters were in odd places. But Larry, it got me thinking, you know, somebody may say, well, why is the air filter across the house over in this little closet or something? Why are these air filters not located right there at the unit where it's got a big sign that says change this air filter or something? But we see that sometimes, right? There's no rhyme or reason for some of these.
Yeah, it's normally, you know, we like to put them close to the unit, but you know sometimes there's reasons, you know, that somebody would put it. Maybe they want to put it down to where they don't have to go in the attic, so they put it somewhere downstairs where they can just open a closet and change it. For instance, there's lots of reasoning behind it, I'm sure, but we always like to put them close to the unit, so.
And make them easy to get to. But you said that can even go back down to the architect. Maybe they didn't give it enough space around it or something, right?
You know, maybe, but if you put it, the good thing about putting it by the unit is that when you go up to do the filter change, you get to visually inspect the unit. You know, is there any water in my drain pan? Is this, you know, anything look you know, out of place or whatever? You know, just stuff like that is invaluable to just keeping your system running properly. Because, you know, you may go up to change the filter and, you know, there's a drain pan under your unit and you see water in there and you go, well, that's not shouldn't be there.
Right.
Let me call somebody before it, you know, floods your house or, you know, anything like that. It shouldn't be leaking and you shouldn't have water in the pan. So if you're, you know, again, you're being able to see that to where if your filter was in a different location, maybe you wouldn't have noticed it.
Yeah, I would say it seems to me that the HVAC unit itself is very complex. However, the maintenance is as simple as it could be. It's literally making sure that drainage pan is clean and it's got air. You know, I would think too, Larry, is it a good idea for the average homeowner? Because our first home when we were kind of rookies, we had the whole thing of during the summer, the tray filled up. It was clogged and it crashed through the ceiling. I mean, we had a serious water leak. Mm-hmm. Could you get up there and maybe get, I don't know, like a pitcher of water and pour it into the pan and see if it drains correctly or something, like a way to test it yourself, or, you know? Well,
you could do that, but obviously that kind of gets monotonous having to do it every year. But what we do on our installations is if it's in the attic, so we obviously put a drain pan that has a drain, but then we also put a float switch in the drain pan. So, for instance, that drain was to clog, the water continues to go up in the pan. It'll just have a little switch. When it pushes the float up, it'll turn the unit off. So at least you're not having it flood your house.
I could have used that. Yeah, that would have saved me a lot.
It may be hot. You know, you may come home and go, oh, it's hot in here, and that's the problem. But at least, you know, your ceiling's not fell in.
Right. And it's usually that's what you find, like maybe little bits of insulation or blocking, and you clean it up. You've had that. I mean, Alan, in your career, people probably think you're this brilliant genius just because you've unclogged so many things. But
again, I'm going to have to say thanks to Larry. I had one last week where I got a call, and honestly, they told me it was raining in the building.
Gee.
And you're like, oh, okay. and they had of one of my favorite units in the whole world. And I mean, if you got a commercial building out there with a weird air situation, call Larry and ask him about a mini split. These are the greatest units in the world because they can solve a problem nothing else can solve. And a mini split is exactly that. It's like a wall-mounted or ceiling-mounted small efficiency air conditioner, and the rest of it's outside. You got the big fan and everything outside. But for a little bitty unit, there is a deceptively lot of water that can be stored in that unit.
Oh, yeah.
And they hadn't cleaned the filters. They hadn't done any maintenance on it. And sure enough, the water tray was full because the pump wasn't being activated properly. So, the big solution to this was to take the little drain tube loose, hit it with your little air gun till you hear it bubble out the other end. Wait till you got some water in it, plug it back into the pump, turn the pump back on, and ta-da! Now it's no longer raining in the unit. And then take the filter trays down and go clean the 2 towels out of it that y'all haven't, cleaned out in a while. So, my big word with HVAC for the last 2 weeks is go clean your units. It's really time to get spring cleaning and pay attention to them. But it was such a simple fix. But the legacy thinking is it's always new employees. And whoever I had shown how to do this last time, they weren't there anymore. And when they leave,
This gets neglected. Yeah.
They didn't tell anybody what to do. The new people in there had no idea other than water started dripping out of the ceiling.
Yeah.
So, get Allan on the phone real quick. Get him down here. So now I've shown this crop how to clean it, how to take care of it, and they'll do a good job with it until, 6 months from now, a year from now, they all, get promoted or whatever, and you get a new bunch in there, and you just hope somebody got shown what to do.
Hey, Larry, I'm curious about something because, we have a different sort. I'm a carpenter. Okay. People call me and they say, hey, I want a patio or I want a deck. It's usually things that are not stressful. It's something they budgeted their money for. There's no rush. They usually just want it done. You, on the other hand, are the guy that gets these emergency calls in the middle of the night and things like that. And I'm wondering how many times have people probably hugged you or something at the end when you said, look, you don't need a $20,000 unit. You just need this. And you saved them all this money and you put their mind at ease and things like that. I mean,
well, it is a rewarding thing, if you can go out there and help somebody and it turns out to be a lot less of a problem than they were expecting. But it is rewarding to get stuff fixed and, to see the fruits of your labor and walk away with somebody they were happy they called you. And obviously that's what we're looking for every one of our customers is to make sure all of them are happy when we leave.
Yeah.
That, it got fixed for a fair price and we did a good job and did it as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and that's why we often, Larry, we often compare you to the relationship you have with your car mechanic because it's ongoing. It's not like they call you once every 20 years. They should really be in touch with you at least once a year. And you want somebody that has the qualifications, but also the integrity and you're there to just solve their problem, regardless of how much it costs. So.
Well, exactly. And I mean, if it's just, a small problem, then, obviously sometimes you could go out there and it could be a fuse blown. And, we put a new fuse in, boom, 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 it's fixed.
Yeah.
Or it could be, the next person we go to, they may need a whole new unit. So, but it's a rewarding field from the personal interaction you have with people and helping them solve their problems.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I always think about it too. It's like all these things you're talking about. It reminds me, your unit, it has to breathe. Basically, it's like trying to do a marathon and you had a towel wrapped around your face or something. I mean, it wouldn't work. It has to be able to function and to breathe and everything.
So I want to get into just briefly what's going on with smart home systems these days and stuff like Remy Halos.
Oh yeah, we haven't even mentioned that
because I am a massive air purification fan. And we've flu and COVID and Lord only knows what else. And right now with pollen season, all of those systems work to keep us healthy and comfortable.
Well, you're exactly right. That what happens is that obviously our indoor air quality, according to studies, is 5 to 10 times more dirtier than the outside air, more polluted. Okay. And because once you get something in your home, it tends to stay there. So you bring in pollen, in your shoes, your clothes, all that kind of stuff. You bring it in the house, it's just circulating around in the house. Some of it does get captured in your air filter, but a lot of it will go into your carpet, your ductwork, your fabrics on your furniture, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, and then germs too. It's been flu and stuff like that. Now we have COVID. The RSV is around now. So obviously it's important to have something that'll help mitigate that. And, that's the Remy Halo does all that. So it's a great product. It's something you put in your home and get instant results from.
Yeah, and it'll pay, and it pays for itself, and just the clean air quality is noticeable. So, this good stuff, man. We're gonna continue the talk when we come back here, and I also want to share a tool tale with you. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
The baler can flatten a car engine. It can cut off your arm and crush your entire body without skipping a beat. How many people a year do you think get their arms cut off in a baler?
Baler? I hardly know her.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
I would like to Google that statistic, though. I'd be curious how many people get their arm tore off in a baler.
You don't want to know.
Or if it could really flatten a car engine.
Oh, yeah. Allen's prove that. Yeah.
Trust me.
Absolutely. And don't question that one, Max. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Alan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com. Our pal Max over there behind the glass. And in the house for just a little longer, our good buddy Larry Brown with Brown Refrigeration. So if you've got any questions or comments, it's a good time to get in touch with us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline. You can call or text at 901-683-0989. And if you're wondering what Larry looks like, he's on camera. You can go to the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's Facebook page and the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's X page. So we're going to have a little more to say about some HVAC topics, but I wanted to share a tool tale with you.
And now?
Oh, I did it again.
Tool Tales with Tool Talk Radio.
Larry, one day I'm not going to give the redundant introduction. We always wind up doing it twice, so. But whatever. I have a tool tale, and it's not necessarily just my tool tale, but Alan, you know how this is. Over the years, gifts change to your spouse, right? When you were younger, I'm sure this is true with you, Larry. The first, couple years, it's like, well, you got to be very, thoughtful. It's got to be that sentimental, whatever.
Oh, yeah, romantic, all that wrapped up into one present, right?
Exactly. Well, Mother's Day was just here, and my wife, I was really giving a lot of thought, and I'm like, what would she really want for Mother's Day? What would encompass?
What would she actually really want?
Right.
Right.
So
okay.
So I got her a Sawzall. Or I should say a reciprocating saw, because if you've been listening to Tool Talk for any amount of time, you know that I broke mine several months ago because I was trying to take out a tree stump. I'm convinced that if you use it correctly, a Sawzall can have it's comparable to a chainsaw. If you have the right blades, it's strong.
Well, I will tell you, for bringing down certain types of woods like privet that is super wet.
Right.
That just destroys a chainsaw.
Yeah.
Man, a reciprocating saw with a good pruning blade.
Yeah.
You'll get even.
Well, I came home with this thing, and Larry, he's right. I bought the 12-inch and the 9-inch pruning blades, which have some real sinister-looking teeth on them. And this one has a bit of a bigger motor than we had on our last one, and it's got the light attachment. It's got like a motion-activated light at the front, and you're thinking, well, why do you need that? Oh, there's plenty of times you're cutting into tight areas, and that's a super helpful thing. But Man, she got back there because, Larry, you've seen our house. We have a lot of property. I know you've got a lot of acreage and stuff too, but there is a area that I don't go near it because it's got poison ivy and I'm real susceptible to that. But she got back there, man. She was standing there. I was looking out the window. She was standing there with the Sawzall after she's surveying her work, and she's holding it like Arnold Schwarzenegger holding a machine gun, looking at what she had just done, and she looked very confident. She's loving it. I mean, it was it was money well spent, but
you would be shocked the number of lives that I have changed by going, and let me introduce you to my buddy, the reciprocating saw. Because it will do.
It's a great tool.
Oh my gosh! I mean, it's a dangerous tool. You got to have, you got to use it correctly.
Be careful.
Freely tell you, it's a dangerous tool. But between the different blades, because you can go anything from very small and metal to a 12-inch pruning blade, which will bring down a fair size bit of vegetation.
Oh yeah,
you can bring down some stuff. It is an amazing tool and very freeing for a homeowner.
I want to say one thing though, and it's the battery powered.
We
got but you have to. This is important. Don't just grab some blade off the shelf. You have to look. And
get the good ones.
There's a reason why there's very small teeth on the metal one, and there's big teeth on the
Yes.
But Larry, I was curious because you're very happily married to Mrs. Brown, and I'm wondering, have you? Because she's a hard worker, right?
Absolutely.
Does she have any go-to tools for that?
Well, I was going to say that she has a Sawzall, battery powered with the pruning blades, but then she also has a battery powered chainsaw.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
All right.
So she's got one in each hand, man. Take on anything.
Have you noticed that too? Then the confidence and the kind of probably working out a lot of aggression.
Oh, sure.
Therapeutic.
Yeah. And it's tools that, like, obviously women, they're and I don't want to say anything bad about them, but
watch it.
Maybe their strength is not that of a man, maybe. And but these tools are a little lighter. But they can still do a lot of damage, a lot of cutting. So I think that empowers them to, get out there and do it. Where maybe they were kind of apprehensive about using a full-size chainsaw. They they use a small one or the Sawzall or whatever, and get the job done.
I feel like the thing I like now, we have a battery powered chainsaw too. The only thing it drains the battery like that. I mean, Alan, I might get 5 minutes with that thing. The Sawzall, you use it judiciously, and especially with that 12-inch blade, you'll get a lot of use out of it before you got to change batteries.
Yeah, you're right.
That's I clear land with those things. I have. The horrible thing is I have 4 reciprocating saws now.
I don't doubt it.
It's just 2 small ones and 2 big ones. And just
can't have too many, Alan.
I've armed the crew and it's off we go.
You need to get 2 more and have a 6-pack.
Oh my gosh,
in holsters and stuff. So, yeah. Well, I knew you guys would have. I mean, okay. We're calling them Sawzalls. They are technically a reciprocating saw.
Yeah.
Sawzall's like the
brand
Kleenex.
name.
That's the brand name and everything. So I would say get out. If you're out there and you're trying to figure out that great gift, don't discount a cool, nice power tool for your wife. I mean, it worked here. So.
Ask and go shopping. You'd be surprised. And I will throw in, go through your big box, hardware store, or hit one of the smaller ones. You would be shocked what some of these companies are making from arts and crafts to complete construction.
Right.
And gasoline or battery powered I even saw of glue guns.
Yeah. Oh, I saw that.
Yeah. 18-volt glue guns. You
Is
just
that
click
right?
that baby in and go.
You talking about a caulking gun? I saw that, and I'm like,
there's a caulk gun that does it.
Yeah.
There's a glue gun that does it. And I got to tell you, if you haven't purchased a new tire air gauge, little air pump, these things are amazing.
Max has
the new
one.
small ones that just pop onto the 18-volt batteries. Totally change car safety.
Yeah,
because now you can just put little battery, put it in any car. You don't have to worry about a flat tire.
Right.
And
awesome stuff.
Especially here in the Mid-South, go get yourself a little battery-powered fan. It makes a difference having that little bit of breeze when you're, So, hey, Larry, for people just tuning in, they should know that there's some game-changing things happening in the HVAC world, and it really behooves them to get in touch with Brown Refrigeration. There's a new refrigerant coming out. There's new units that are going to be coming out here January 1st, and that's mandated. So this isn't optional, right? These are
no, it's not optional at all. It's just going to happen, and even a lot of the manufacturers are coming out in the fourth quarter. It's the new refrigerant is R454B, so it's a different refrigerant. It does have some flammable feet. I guess it is flammable to a certain point, and so there's going to be a lot of new requirements when you install these units. They'll be a little more complex because there are some like detectors actually built into the unit. So if the indoor portion were to start leaking this refrigerant, that it would actually shut the unit off and maybe sound an alarm and let you know. So it's going to be interesting for sure. But, if you're interested in any of those topics, you can just give us a call at 901-362-1881. And we'll be glad to discuss it more in detail. But the R454B is coming January 1, 2025. This is here.
Yeah.
So.
And Larry, you guys are always at the you're always at the forefront and paying attention to all the changes. So yeah, get in touch with them. Get your unit serviced. Larry's got some great discounts going on just for our listeners till the end of May. So check those out. And but Larry, it's always good getting you in here. But we gotta try to do it more often. But I know you're a busy man.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to come, and I'll look forward for the next time.
Absolutely. Well, I hear the music, Allan. It's time to scoot out of here. You've been listening to another action-packed episode of Tool Talk Radio, but it's time to scoot. So on behalf of my buddy Allan Gilbreth and our pal Max over there behind the glass and our friend Larry Brown with Brown Refrigeration, I'm Joe Thorderson. Thanks for listening to Tool Talk Radio, and we'll see you next week.